happens. Speaking of the draft, though, when it comes to the NFL draft and whether the Saints would draft like a Hendon Hooker if it doesn't work out with Derek Carr, the NFL Combine, which is coming up very soon, the Underwear Olympics, they have announced their invites to of all 319 total players. Of the LSU players, 9 have been invited to the 2023 NFL Combine. They are Micah Baskerville, Kayshon Boutte, Anthony Bradford, Mekhi Garner, defensive back, Ali Gay, Jere Jenkins, B.J. Ojulari, Jaquelin Roy, and Jay Ward. A lot of those are obvious, but I was looking through that. I'm like, okay, who didn't get invited? There's always one. One of the most notable players that were left off this board that didn't get invited. And I was shocked to see that they didn't get invited because I would expected someone else like a Bradford or a B.J. Ojulari to not get invited. Jarek Bernard-Converse. He did not get invited to the NFL Combine. I mean, you could say, all right, well, there's been plenty of LSU starters in the past who don't get invites. True, but he was a first-team All Big 12 in 2021. 4-year starter. First-team All Big 12. And then he comes to LSU, plays extremely well. Not only that, he plays cornerback and safety for LSU and does so at a very high level. I mean, you're talking about a versatile guy. That shocked me. That shocked me that, especially at a place like LSU, gets a lot of notoriety when it comes to the NFL Combine and pro days and stuff like that. That took me by surprise a little bit. Now, hopefully, he gets his day for LSU Pro Day, which is really where he shows up. As far as Jarek Bernard-Converse, before we move on to the other players, I actually like Jarek Bernard-Converse more as a safety at the next level. One, he's just kind of built like a safety more. He can tackle well in space, all that stuff. And plus, he's great in coverage because he knows he can play one-on-one coverage out on an island by himself in the SEC. But I think as a safety, that's where he fits best in the NFL. And he's going to have a lot of value because nowadays in the NFL, you have to be multiple, especially on defense, to cover these spread RPO offenses. And he's a guy who, like I said, I'm a little shocked that someone as versatile as him, someone who's played as well as him for as long as he has at a high level, wasn't invited, representing LSU. But we'll see. So I was looking through the list and trying to see which LSU player, outside of Jarek Bernard-Converse, who we just talked about, has the most to gain at this year's NFL Combine. Now, not all these guys necessarily. Like, it wouldn't shock me if B.J. Ojulari says, I'm not going, I'm only going to do my stuff at Pro Day. Same thing with Kayshon. But let's just assume for a moment that they all go. I want to know who actually has the most to gain. Whether it be Combine to just run or jump, or even just to gain a lot in the interview process at the NFL Combine. So I looked up scouting reports for all of these players on NFLDraftBuzz.com. It's the most in-depth free draft analysis and scouting reports I can see for the NFL Draft. It's pretty good stuff. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I'm just going to go through the couple that I think really stand out based on what you actually do at the Combine, whether it's the skills with running and jumping or just the interview process. These were the ones that stood out to me the most. So Micah Baskerville. Micah Baskerville won't gain a lot through running or jumping, according to his scouting reports. A lot of his scouting reports says he's physical, he runs real fast, strong dude, all that stuff. He's not going to really gain too much by running and jumping and going through all that other things and nonsense that you do at the Combine. His draft eval says that the biggest issues that they have is his tackling and technique, not so much speed, size, and strength. But he probably could gain more, to me, in interviews. Because with tackling, you're not going to tackle on combines. You're just not going to show that ability running around in your underwear without any pads and not tackling anybody. You can't fix that on pro days or combines. But what Micah Baskerville can do is fix his draft status in the interview process. Because, at least y'all remember, Micah Baskerville sat out multiple spring practices at LSU for grades, or amongst other reasons, breaking team rules, but it was probably grades. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the NFL cares about your GPA. They don't. But what they do care about is that you show consistently that you are taking care of your business off the field, that you are showing maturity. So he's going to have to answer those questions of, okay, why were you missing spring practice? Why were you pushed from first string to third string when Brian Kelly first got here? Why were you missing these games and stuff like that? It's a fair thing to ask because maybe some of it wasn't grades. Maybe something was something else. But from my understanding, it was. And was it laziness or was it just him just struggling because he's just not good at school and he just wasn't prepared for college? Happens to a lot of people. A lot of smart people who are disciplined that just didn't have good study habits and didn't make it. So maybe that's it. But he can gain the most through the interview process. B.J. Ojulari is another one. He's going to be the highest pick in this year's draft out of LSU. Some had him as a first-round pick going into this season, but most mock drafts now have B.J. Ojulari going kind of high second round. ESPN has him going 36 overall to the LA Rams. But look, B.J. Ojulari, everyone knows his physical abilities. He shows up, does well, all those things. That's not going to shock anybody because he has all of those traits down packed. But what's really going to help him more than anything, if it hasn't already, is the interview process as well. Because he wears the number 18. Matter of fact, all the mock drafts that have him going in the second round, high second round, says, well, he wears the number 18. That's going to go a long way in the interview process. Again, as I said before, the number 18 is a bigger deal to NFL GMs than I even think LSU fans don't even realize. It's a big deal for them. So NFL team may take him from, top of the second round and move him up to, bottom to mid of the first round because he shows up, takes care of his business at the combine, and blows them away, being number 18 at LSU. So who knows? BJ could play himself into a late first-round pick. Kayshon Boutte. Now here's the biggest one as far as who has the biggest jump to make. He's coming off of an injury from 2 years ago. And a lot of people thought, I would say, that he looked heavy this season. The explosion wasn't there at times. The separation seemed to be an issue in a lot of ways, not just from his speed, but also some of his technique. You can tell he was breaking off the rust. And also just the lack of connection with him and the quarterbacks was also an issue as well. But then you add on top of that the rumors of him off the field and Brian Kelly calling him out back in spring practice a year ago. Says, I know his first name. That's about it. Not really around much. And then the meltdowns on the sidelines the first half of the season. Then he randomly changing his mind out of nowhere after this huge heartfelt announcement of, I'm coming back to win a national championship. And he's like, oh yeah, never mind. I'm not going back, going pro. Now, you may sit there, even though most LSU fans are kind of sick and tired of Kayshon's drama. Some of you also may sit there and say, well, Nick, that doesn't matter to me as much. I think that's being overplayed. True, it may be overplayed, especially the sideline antics, because a lot of players on the sidelines at LSU were frustrated with the offense. But it doesn't matter what you or I think. It's still a big deal to the NFL general managers, and it's questions that they have. He is a first-round talent. Kayshon Boutte is a first-round talent. No one denies that. But when you add the physical stuff, when you add the play on the field, when you add all the off-the-field drama as well, he's hurt himself into a third-round pick. So I would say Kayshon has the most questions to answer and really the biggest status to regain out of anyone, not just with LSU going into the NFL draft, of anyone in the NFL draft, period. Period, point blank. He has the most to gain, showing that he still has great movement in his body, that he's not heavy, that he has great technique. He hasn't lost any of his catch radius, and the interview process, clearing some stuff up of what went behind the scenes. All that. He has the most to gain. And he can move himself up into kind of an early second-round pick. First round, I don't know. But Kayshawn has probably the most to regain out of anyone in this year's NFL draft. Last two, before we move on, Dre Jenkins, he has a lot of wiggle room to improve his stock. I couldn't find an updated version of where he's projected to go, but Dre Jenkins is a guy who's made a lot of big-time plays and big-time games and big moments his entire career at LSU. I mean, how many game-winning catches that he had the last 3 seasons that we've forgotten about? Arkansas 2020, A&M 2021, Florida 2021. He was the second leading wide receiver in every category in 2021 as well. And you had a lame duck coach that got fired. He had a horrible offensive coordinator. He still worked hard off the field, all that good stuff, no issues. I mean, I've made my comparisons that Dre Jenkins is a bigger, more talented, more athletic Russell Gage. That's what I would say. I would say Dre Jenkins is a more talented, bigger Russell Gage. And Russell Gage wasn't even thought to be, he was going to be drafted. He was a guy who wasn't even invited to the combine. I mean, he barely got drafted in the 6th round. But he got himself into the 6th round because of his pro day, because he was showing consistency with his route running, with his interview process, went very well with teams. And then finally someone in the 6th round said, all right, I'll take him. Dre Jenkins, I think he can do better, much better. I think he can be higher than a 6th round pick, 5th round pick, 4th round pick. Hell, maybe he can play himself into round 3. Who knows? But Dre is, for those of you who don't remember, because it was the bowl game and no one really cared that much, Dre opted out of the Citrus Bowl against Purdue. And I think that's going to do him a lot of wonders because he's now had extra time to prepare for the combine drills and all the other stuff and preparing for all the other things that you're going to see in the Underwear Olympics. And that's going to help him out big time. And the last one would be Jaquelin Roy. Same thing with him sitting out. Looking at his draft profile, physical, speed-wise, everything that you could possibly want. The one negative against him that I've seen in his draft evaluations is his strength at the line of scrimmage. It left a little to be desired. This is where Jaquelin Roy, doing well in the bench press at the combine, is going to answer a lot of those questions. And him opting out early also helped out with that.